In order to examine this better, let's look at Saussure, the father of structuralism, and in a way post-structuralism, or rather the father of everything that has to do with modern linguistics. And let's look at his essay, Nature of the Linguistic Sign. Now, what Saussure says is that the bond between the signifier and the signified is arbitrary. The linguistic sign is arbitrary. What he means is that the tree, if we take this not to be a drawing, which is in itself a signifier for a tree, but if we take this to be the actual tree, that perfect Platonic tree, then what that means is that if we write out tree, or if we say it verbally and spell it out, therefore phonetically, tree, that has nothing to do with the actual tree itself, but rather it is arbitrary. What we're dealing with is the tree, the real tree, which is signified, and then the signifier, which is the sound, the written word, the way that we say tree. And that together makes up the sign. This is incarnated in the Dr. Phil show, when Dr. Phil says, and I quote, "Hold on, hold on, hold on." That means stop talking. In the first sense, nobody understood, or at least they didn't listen to him, when he said 3 times, "Hold on." But he thinks that by saying that means stop talking, he's clarifying something. But we can stop and look at that and say, of course, that even when he says that means stop talking, doesn't actually mean that means stop talking. It's just a way of verbalizing the signified with another signifier, the same way hold on was verbalizing through a signifier the same exact thing that he meant to signify. That brings us to the important question that, can I ever have my words? If I say something, am I actually saying something? Or is it all about you interpreting it, or is it about what the words mean? To look at this, we should turn to Derrida, the person who coined the term deconstructionism, and his famous essay, Structure, Sign, and Play. In this, Derrida defines language by saying that language bears within itself the structure of not the signified, not the signifier, not even the sign, but rather its own critique. This is incredibly true on the Dr. Phil show, and it appears to be the actual problem facing the guests and Dr. Phil himself. Let's take, for example, what Michelle, the wife, who appears to be in some way part of the problem in that she so adamantly hates the mother-in-law, Jane. Let's look at something that she says. "You're very good at twisting words." For Michelle, this is a bad thing. For Jane, too. For all of the people involved, including Dr. Phil, twisting words is bad. It's a problem. For Derrida, on the other hand, that constitutes free play, which is the beautiful thing, although it also has negative consequences about deconstructionism. Jane's answer to this problem is, don't you dare say anything, as if not saying something, for instance, writing it, or being absolutely silent is any sort of remedy for the situation. Derrida, on the other hand, says the answer to this is free play. And now, in the words of Dr. Phil, I'm going to tell y'all what I think. When we look at Dr. Phil, he says that this is all a problem of name-calling. That could, of course, be a very dumbed-down way of saying it's a problem of signs and phenomenology. But we also look at the fact that he says, I don't care when something was said, I care what was said. Dr. Phil clearly thinks that there is an absolute something being said, that there is an actual center, which Derrida so adamantly does not believe is behind signs and signified. But this does not mean that we can totally disregard words. They are very important. For instance, in this case, words were able to prevent someone from going to a wedding, to an event. This seems improbable to us when we just look at the facts. How can words, whether they're written down or said verbally, especially by someone who has no, for instance, legal or political authority, or even economic authority over the person in question, how can these words prevent someone from doing something? On the other hand, our entire society, all of our values, in everything that is a part of everyday activity, is predicated on the very idea that signs, signifiers, and the signified are connected and they do have meaning. Take, for example, the wedding. Whether Jane, the mother-in-law, goes to this event or not, the bride and the groom will still be saying "I do," and saying it because they think it signifies something.